a silver lining of this season, which has been frustrating, and by the way, they are still in playoff contention, and
They are.
maybe at this point are like still have a similar, if not better, record than they had last year at this time. I know the trend lines make us feel better. Last year they were headed in the right direction and just looked like they had turned a corner, whereas this year they just look wildly inconsistent. So like with all of that said, I think one of the most encouraging things about this season has been that I think Beatty is good. I think Vientos has figured it out and has not fallen off a cliff and regressed fully. He looks to be back to being a positive hitter, if not great at any other aspect of the game. And Alvarez, though he's had a bit of a roller coaster year, like he looks pretty good again too. And so that sort of like young core, I feel a lot better about than I did. And I know you alluded to the other position players who are rocketing through the minors as well. I feel a lot better about their ability to have that be the majority of the team, and therefore like the ability to go after premier free agents such as Juan Soto, whose name we haven't even said on this podcast, even though he's actually been amazing for the last couple weeks. Yeah, it is. You start to like squint and see the vision of a championship level organization top to bottom when you see all of those things coming together. It's just that this one specific season and the last couple months in particular has been a rocky version of it.
A maddening experience, I would say. By the way, you alluded to it. I just looked it up. September 1st last season, the Mets were 73-64. September 1st of this year, the Mets are 73-64.
Let's go. Let's go.
That's pretty insane. The only difference is this time last year they were game out of the wild card picture. Right now they're 4 games up. So shout out to a slightly shittier National League than last year.
There's many ways to skin a cat, Rich. We can be the worst team in the league for 3 months, or we can be the best team of all time for 3 months, but we're still going to be 9 games over.
It's kind of insane, and this is like one of the other things I wanted to talk about before we start to kind of like move on and finish recapping the week and look ahead. But I put it out on Twitter, I think at some point over the weekend, probably after Saturday's loss, that this has been, I think for me, the most frustrating good Mets team ever. And I guess I quantify good as they made the playoffs, and I think they're still going to make the playoffs. They'd really have to fuck it up to miss it at this point, because I don't think the Reds are good enough to take it. It's just like, are you going to be bad enough to give it away? Mm-hmm. I would say 2022 is different because that team was a machine for 5 months and then was okay in September and then choked 2 weekends in a row.
Yep.
And that team is a massive disappointment, and I would say they choked more than like they collapsed, but it's hard to say that was a frustrating team because it was isolated to the very, very end. I'd say the closest like non-playoff team, at least like in my lifetime, is kind of feels like a lot like 2008, where they were slugging a lot because their pitching was so bad. Their bullpen was actually worse that year than their starting pitching, but neither was particularly good, especially down the stretch. That team, I think, on September 1st was actually still in first place and was 3.5 games up on the Brewers for the last playoff spot. So pretty similar again to where this team currently sits, although that team had a better record than the Mets do right now. For you, where does this kind of rank, at least so far, among good Mets teams that either made the playoffs or were contending to the playoffs till the very end? Because I've been so frustrated watching this back and forth and this level of talent not be able to stack the wins that we feel like they should.
Yeah, I mean, I know I already cited 2019. That's the thing that's jumping to mind right now. I mean, I think 2008 is actually a good call out because that was like the vibes of a past era that we were just trying to squeeze the last bit of juice out, and we were hoping that they were not about to head into a 5-year rebuild right in the middle of David Wright's prime, like right in the middle of this guy who was like very important to us. And
it only turned into a 9-year rebuild, actually.
Yeah, and unfortunately that actually led us straight to the end of David Wright's career, which we don't need to talk about here on this podcast. It's not that bleak this season.
No.
But it's kind of shocking. I was just looking at it. They finished 2008 89-73. I mean, you'd be set these days at 89 and
Yeah,
73.
I mean, back then there
the
was
league was different. Yes.
Yeah, there was only one wild card team back then, and they
Yes.
only missed it out by a single game. But again, they didn't play very well down the stretch, and that team also lost a lot of games to teams they were better than at the end of the year, which that's kind of what has that similar feeling. Obviously, they lost 2 of 3 to the Marlins at the end of the year, which they have the theme of doing back then and still doing today, even though back then they were the Florida Marlins. Now they're the Miami Marlins.
Yeah.
I remember that they played a frustrating series against the Cubs right before that. I think they split the series. That was a good Cubs team, but the Cubs had clinched already, so they were basically playing nobody and had nothing to play for. And the Mets lost a few of those games. I have a core baseball memory of one of those games in a tie game. Daniel Murphy, as a rookie, hit a leadoff triple where if they scored, they would have walked it off. And much like this weekend with Jeff McNeil, they didn't fucking score. And then I think Derek Lee on the Cubs back then? He hit like a 2 or 3 run homer in extra innings and they lost. And it just has like a similar vibe, I guess. And that team was, at least as of now, was better than this team is currently on pace to go. But yeah, it has a little bit of those vibes for me. And it's just been like, I want to believe so bad because last year kind of sucked me back into believing after how bad 2022 ended.
Yeah.
And I, more than anything, wanted to spend this entire podcast with you talking about how the Mets are in the Phillies' heads and talking about the stupid bullshit cheating allegations from all those butthurt Philly fans.
Dude.
I had the title for the episode was going to be Game On because that's what Gary Cohen said after Game 2. And I had to wipe all that away because they pissed their pants against the Marlins all weekend.
Yeah. It's hard to even go back like 5 days, because the vibes were really good. It felt like it, but yes, it feels like a much different season, and that's what this season has been like. Just to close the loop on 2019, that was the year for me that like it felt like found money the way that the offense performed. Some of this was the juiced ball, this was Pete's rookie season and he hit his 53 home runs, and this was the the career high JD Davis season, 134 OPS plus, crazy town. But
Dom
even though
Smith
the rotation,
really
Dom was really good. Even though the rotation had DeGrom, obviously God mode DeGrom, Syndergaard sucked. Like this was kind of post Syndergaard being good, and Wheeler was on the team, but he was like not really super
good in
great.
The second half.
Yes. And Edwin Diaz blew like a million saves.
Oh my God.
That kind of feels like the bullpen this year. Edwin's been really great this year, but the bullpen in general sort of is like in a summation, very similar to what happened in 2019 with Edwin. Just like a lot of home runs, a lot of bad luck, a lot of walks. And so that's why it feels similarly. The Phillies series was fun. Felt good. It's proof enough that like they can beat pretty much anyone. It's just that they will most likely not beat pretty much anybody consecutively, which is what you actually have to do to make a run in the playoffs. Can I say quickly though, I've seen a lot of people sharing a sentiment that's like, at frustrating moments during the 2025 season, sharing a sentiment that was like, damn, 2024 was really our chance. We had the vibes. They share a highlight like the Vientos home run in Philadelphia in Game 2 to tie the game that they eventually went on to lose on the walk-off. Right. And that is just not true. Like the Dodgers flat out outplayed the Mets in the NLCS.
They're gonna beat anybody
they were better. They were going to beat any team, and unless potentially the Padres had found a way to eliminate the Dodgers and then ran into a wall because they were not quite as deep as the Dodgers team, the Mets maybe could have beaten them, but that is like multiple different variables that I feel like we should just not lose sight of the fact that they were not better than the Dodgers, and the magical run kind of ran up against it. Like you can't it was that complete. So I feel like we should not, I don't know. I don't think we missed our window the way that it feels like people are talking about the 2024 team. Of course, it was miraculous and would have felt amazing, but I don't know. I think we're maybe underrating how outplayed they were in that series against the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean they were down 3-1 which is essentially game over. And I think they were honestly kind of lucky that they won that 6th game, not like giving it back or whatever, or the 5th game, excuse me, not to give it back. But yeah, I always think it's kind of like a fallacy of like, well, if we beat the best team in the playoffs,
Right.
then we would have won the. Yeah, sure. If the Mets played the Yankees, they probably would have beaten them. Although, who the hell knows? That was a risk right there.
Yeah, seriously.
But the problem is you had to beat the best team in the playoffs before that, and you were never going to do that. I don't think anybody was going to beat the Dodgers last year because nobody did. Yeah, I think
I
it's
would just
more
like
of
to clarify that because in these low moments, which we're at right now, there's been a lot of like, man, we
people
missed
say
our
a lot of
window.
shit.
I just don't
Yeah,
think that's true. Like, I think that
I
they maximized that team fully.
yeah.
I think that they got the most that they possibly could out of that team, which was not perfect, but was
They
a
beat two,
lot of guys were getting their 95th percentile outcome at that moment.
yeah, they beat 2 teams that were better than them in the playoffs. Like, I think it's more the feeling is just like when you lose in the playoffs in like a positive upcoming season like that, like 2006, I think is similar to that.
Yeah.
There's like a feeling walking away of like, okay, we'll be back and we'll be better because we're just going to add to this. And that doesn't always
2015 was
play
like
out.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
15 was like that as well.
2015. Well, we'll be back. And like they went one and done after that. And then they didn't make the playoffs for, 7, 8 years after that.